With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You discover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
Ho, 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 ho. Ho, ho. Ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. To all the little girls and boys that are out there. It's the bloviating Zeppelin. The Zeppelinski. It's Thursday, December 13th, the year of our Lord, 2018. And I am ensconced right here in the command seat, the control seat. So I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here from the SHR Media Network studios. Okay, there we go. I'm on. Had to start everything. Welcome to Mike. Good to see you in chat. Welcome to Mary Brockman. Good to see you in chat. Welcome to Whiskey Dale. Clyde, thanks you for putting him in a nice place such as this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I got to tell you, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Tashay is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them. And, of course, the lava lamp is on over here to my left, your right, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com, shrmedia.com. If you want to watch the show and watch the lava lamp transmogrify, then you need to go to the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel. Both are streaming simultaneously right now for the convenience of you with your mind in mind. We don't water our crimes. That's about the 10th time I've said that. I don't water crimes. We don't water our drinks. What am I thinking when I say that? We don't water our drinks. Just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime. There it is. Culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that when you go to ye olde bat room, we ask that you please flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, it's going to go something like this. Oh, Whiskey Dale says the video is great, by the way, on the Facebook page. Great. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm pointing to the screen over here, which you can't see, but actually if I point this way, thank you for pointing people to the Facebook page. Appreciate it. Tonight, for the first hour, on my little device right here, we're going to have shortly the Underground Professor. And the Underground Professor is Dr. Michael Jones, who we haven't spoken to in quite some time. And that will be the first hour. And the second hour will be lots of breaking news. I have some great happy stories. Those will be first. A whole bunch of stuff is going on this week. Some revelations made by Comey via Mueller about Flynn. This crap is breaking. And as far as I'm concerned, it can't break fast enough. So, we've got Dr. Jones, I presume, for the first hour. From the, he is the underground professor. He is a constitutional scholar of the first note. And then second, we've got happy stories in the second hour. We've got happy stories, good times. And perhaps, if he's in here, we may have a surprise special guest. Especial. So, let's see if we can ring somebody up by the old Tucker telephone here. And if we can, one ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingies. I know he was there. I was just talking to him. Dr. Jones. Okay, we'll tell you what. We'll try it again. And folks, by the way, never think that let's try it again. Never think that I don't have material to cover for this. Because I do. I've got a ton of material.
Mushi. Number 5, Kung Pao chicken on sale.
Ohayou gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu now.
Okay. Folks, ladies and gentlemen,
yes,
boys and girls, children of all ages, we have the underground professor on the air. And thank you for being here tonight, Dr. Michael Jones. Dr. Jones.
Yes, evidently, I'm not underground enough. You still found me.
I know. But I had to scour long and hard. Now,
I've kind of like been under the radar from even my friends for so long now. I don't even know if they still remember me.
The last thing that I got from you, and I just want to confirm this, and I hope you say yes. It's been at least a year since you've been on the show. But right around that time, I could swear that I got some photographs of you on a beautiful red Harley Davidson. Evidently, you had just purchased this gorgeous red
photos.
Harley
I bet
Davidson.
You meant the photos.
No.
The reason you got me on the show tonight.
No, not those photos. No, no, those are not in social media. But I'm curious.
That is my 2015 Harley Softail FLS.
It was gorgeous. What a beautiful motorcycle that was. I think you sent out like...
It's sitting right out in my backyard right now.
Is it? Beautiful. Gorgeous. Yep. Okay. Yep. You are in Texas, though, right?
Oh, correct. God's country.
Right, God's country. So if it's out in the backyard, with luck, it's not being rained on.
Yeah, it's not right now, but it was earlier, sadly.
Anyway.
But it's a Harley. It's made for rain and snow and, weather.
Yeah.
I have the... special protection package they sprayed it all with, so it's nice. It's a good bike. I'm not sure if I'm going to be taking. I'm going to be moving to Utah pretty soon here in the next couple of months, and I'm not sure if I'm going to take it with me to Utah or not.
Well, let me put it this way: with all the things that are occurring in California these days, taking it to Utah is going to be a hell of a lot better than taking it to California.
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, a lot less environmental and impact and licensing and everything else.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All the crazy crap that's been going on in California. And yes, later on tonight, I will be telling people about all that kind of stuff. Well, like I say, since it's been about a year since you've been on, and my listenership has exploded since then, maybe you can tell folks a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you got to be the underground professor, where you were born, that kind of cool stuff, so that they have a little bit of a sense of who the heck you are and why you're on, because you're on for a very important reason. But maybe a little bit background into the underground professor.
Oh wow, background on me, huh?
Yeah. Well,
I'm terrible at this stuff.
You grew up a poor black child, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, a sharecropper's son.
Right.
And, exactly right. And we were so poor that on good days we got dirt clods for breakfast.
Yes.
And I was born an only child, and my result of that, my brothers and sisters hated me.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yes.
No kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was born in a log cabin that I helped my father build, and it was that primitive.
It was. And it was so bad, I only had one LED light to study by.
Oh, God. How did you do it? See, those were the days.
We only had one remote. I mean, granted, it was a universal remote, but we only had one remote control in the house. It's terrible.
It's oppressive. That is absolutely oppressive. Now, you did some very significant time in the military, too.
Yes. I did. I did roughly 10 years, 9 months, 15 days, and 8 hours of service in the Air Force.
Not like you're counting.
No, never sat down to pinpoint it or not.
Right.
But I was electronic warfare, reconnaissance, the first part of my career, and electronic denial or jamming at the end of my career. I flew in RC-135s and EC-130s. And spent my time doing that. After Desert Storm, I got out and had a couple kids, got my degrees, and voila, been a professor, did the radio show for a long time. Unfortunately, in 2018, I got pneumonia 5 times and quit doing radio because it was just like every time I turned around and tried to get back on the air, my voice would go out again.
Holy crap.
So I kind of just walked away for a while until I healed up. And unfortunately from that, I've had nothing but a success of health problems. I haven't worked in 2 months, BZ. You don't know that, but I've been pretty much bed bound for the last 2 months.
Is it the flu
cracked
thing?
My head open on a door and got a severe concussion and was sleeping 23 hours a day. And the result of that, my old back injury that I had, it because of that, it flared back up, and now I'm in excruciating pain. And thank you to Obamacare and the paranoia of opioid addiction, no one will prescribe me any pain pills to cover my pain so I can function. So I'm pretty much just a jiggling mass of jello laying around in pain. And every so often when I can't take it, they wheel me to the emergency room and get me shots of Toradol. Until I can make it for another 3 or 4 days. So it's been a mess.
You're not the only one that I've heard that from. I have heard people say that because of what's been going on with the various opioid epidemic, that because of that, doctors are very hesitant to prescribe, and people that are in chronic pain, they're left high and dry. And you're another example of that. Because of that push.
If you're going to be on them for a week or two, they'll do it. But if you're on a chronic syndrome where you're going to be doing this for months or the rest of your life, like me, because I've been in chronic pain for 25 years, they don't want to get anywhere near me. It's even hard to get a new doctor to take you. I've been fighting the Department of Labor just to even answer my freaking phone calls to let me change my doctor to another paying doctor that's willing to help me. And and if you go to the VA, if you go there and see what they have on posters everywhere, the Fort Worth VA, everywhere you turn around, there's some kind of poster warning you of opioid addiction, and they, quite frankly, scared to death to give you anything stronger than a 800 milligram ibuprofen, which is what they prescribed for me. And
which probably won't touch it.
Oh well, my body just laughs at those. I take them like popcorn, and I've also taken the Tramadol, or Ultram, depending on which brand they're giving me, and Probenecid, and I take gabapentin also, and none of that's doing me any good. And the funny thing is that they gave me some of those slow release 30 OP oxys. They're brown pills. The OP means you can't like crush them up and shoot them, and like addicts do.
Oh, okay.
They're slow release. Yeah. If you crush them to do that, then there's like these gel caps inside them that release and destroy the medicine, and so there's just no way you can do it to get high. You actually would take these just for the control of pain, and they're slow release. So if once you get your pain under control, then you take these and you can keep them under control. And oddly enough, 2 of those a day, and I can be a human being again. But getting a doctor that's willing to do that for you is next to impossible anymore, or even some hydrocodone. And so, they leave you here in excruciating pain, and I show up and I can't even breathe. I hurt so much, and I can barely even tell them what's wrong with me. And and I'll get a Toradol shot in my hip, which is worse than giving me a pill. To be tell you, those things are like Jello being shoved into your body through a needle. And anyway, so I've been fighting that for 2 months. I've run out of sick time and vacation time, and now my last paycheck was $26.
Lovely.
And, yeah, you should have seen the bank account, because I was expecting my normal paycheck. And instead of getting a couple grand net, I got $26, and the resulting almost $400 in bounce check fees for all the auto bill pay things that came out just destroyed what I had left in savings. So it's been a fun couple of weeks. Yeah, thank you, government, for coming in and helping me and being there for me. The law of unintended results is one of my favorite things I did. Is I taught my students was that almost anything that the government tries to do out of benevolence, all you have to do is find that tiny little flag in the back corner that says law of unintended results and go straight there, because that's where the calamity will occur, and it always occurs. And this is what's a result of, the war on drugs and the war on opioids and everything. It's when you're the government, the only tool you have in your toolbox for something like this is to fight the lowest common denominator. And so they hit the LCD, and the result is they sweep everybody else in with it. So they're targeting the narco addict and trying to save them from themselves, which is impossible. You can't save people from themselves, but they try to save them.
With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black here, and I'm on a mission to provide better nutrition for cats and dogs, because truthfully, all pet food is dead food, which is why we created Rough Greens and Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more, all in a tasty formula that your dog and cat will love. You can improve your pet's coat, digestion, energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code BESTFRIEND. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, use promo code BESTFRIEND. Bring your pet's food back to life with Rough Greens. So good, your pet will ask for it by name.
From themselves, and what they end up doing is punishing everybody else along the way.
Imagine.
And let them suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
but this
that.
is off track. So, yeah. So
But
I've grown up
well-
all over the world as a military brat. I was in the military. I have, I'm ABD in PhDs for history, philosophy, and theology, and political science. And I've been a professor, an adjunct professor, hence the underground professor, the professor part of it. The underground was teaching the truth about the Constitution, resulted in me having to go underground to survive academia. And I had my radio show, The Underground Professor, or UGP Radio. It's still, you can find that on Google and Periscope and all the other places, VTR, all that. You can watch all my shows. I did 5 years of them, I guess. Maybe more. I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, you were on Blog Talk Radio, and I remember you were also on Periscope.
Yeah.
So,
I had tens of listeners, too, so I was a big mover in the world of radio.
well, theoretically,
Tens of listeners.
you should be able to go to, folks, if you want to go to Blog Talk Radio and then enter Underground Professor, you should be able to hear his stuff there. And if you also go to Periscope and enter Underground Professor, you should be able to pull up the archives right there as well.
Yes, sir.
I got to ask you this.
And the unique thing here, though, is that I went to Freedom Fest one year in Vegas, and I walked up to a table and went to go introduce myself to myself because I was sitting on the other side of the table when I was showing up. It took me 5 minutes to realize it was actually you and not me.
It wasn't that the weirdest thing, and everybody called us then the different brothers from different mothers.
Different mothers, yep.
If you've ever seen a picture of Professor Jones, he's the exact opposite. It's like Jack Spratt and his wife. I guess I'd be the wife part. So we're both. And I stole this from you as well. That was 2016, Freedom Fest in 2016. And we went to Las Vegas, and I went at behest of SHR Radio, and you were there as well for, I think we were there for about a week or close to it. At least
a week, yeah.
At least 3 or 4 days minimum. In Las Vegas, had a great time, met you there. And basically, you could say that either I'm the short, fat Michael Jones, or Michael Jones is the tall, thin BZ. But we both have long hair. We're both older, and we both have mega beards, so to speak.
Well, as of about 3 days ago, I cut off all my hair and trimmed my beard back to a 34th Street level. So yeah, it's I did it. It may sound bizarre to people, but my beard actually was hurting my back. And, it may only have been ounces, but it was psychological that it was bothering me. And so I finally just whacked the doodle back off with a weed eater.
Wow.
And figured I'll regrow it. But that beard was like 5 years old. So, and it was way down to the middle of my chest. Well, starting to look like Gandalf.
Mine is, 2 years old, 2.25 years old, right around in there, because I retired in 2016. And it's gone a fair amount, I have to tell you this. Oh, Mary Brockman in chat says that your Czarina says hi to you.
Yes, my Czarina. That's right.
So
yes, I miss her. She was the anchor of my show. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had one.
So not to be confused with my Sharona.
No.
And my Czarina.
And here's something to make you laugh, BZ.
Okay.
When I have my roommate, I said, you want to listen to me? I'm going to be on radio, but you only get to hear me talking unless you click on a link and listen to it on the link, then you'll get to hear both sides of the conversation.
Okay.
And so he said, so what do? Do I click on this picture of you? I looked over and it was you and the Bobcat.
How'd you get next to that Bobcat? I never understood how that happened.
Yeah, me either.
Say, how did you become interested in the Constitution? You are an acknowledged constitutional scholar. How did you become interested in the Constitution and want to focus on its creation, its background, and its meaning?
I don't know if I've ever really told people this, but I had some toy soldiers that were revolutionary soldiers.
I had some of those too.
And Yeah. And so, they were red or blue,
Right.
and they all looked exactly alike, so you just had to decide that blue was continental and red was, of course, British. Anyway, I started playing with that stuff, and my grandfather once asked me if I knew the significance of any of that and started telling me about, some of it. And so I started getting very interested in it and the history of it. And what blew my mind was just how much we don't know about our own history, about the Revolutionary War and, the founding of this country. And, you go to our history books and stuff, and it's America was all great and Britain was all bad. And I realized that there was more to that story. And the key to me was that there was the reason that we're a country today is because we did not have instant communication like we do today. If we had, then a lot of the misunderstandings between the two sides would have been resolved instantly and explained away, and things would have gone on, the way they always had been. But because of the delays, it allowed people to overreact or to misunderstand, whether intentionally or unintentionally, on what the other side was saying and doing, and voila, we have a revolution. And I'll add this, that our founding fathers labeled the things Britain was doing to us as the intolerable acts, meaning they were intolerable, no way to tolerate what they were doing to us.
Right.
And if you go and look at what the intolerable acts were, you would beg our government to just stop there. Because what we have with representative government has far exceeded what the intolerable acts ever meant to do. And so anyway, I started studying, realizing that our history books were wrong. We were being taught wrong in school, and I wanted to know what the truth was. And in pursuit of that, I started gaining degrees and learning, and actually, and this may dumbfound some people, I actually sat down and read the Constitution and realized I didn't understand any of it. So I then went and found the debates on the Constitution. I said, well, what were these guys saying that were arguing the pros and cons of the Constitution? Well, first thing I did, of course, was I discovered the Federalist and then Anti-Federalist papers, and then I thought, that's not good enough. It's not what I want to know. And so then I found the debates on the Constitution, the notes on debates, Madison, Hamilton, all those guys, they're thinking. And then I started, when I became a adjunct professor, really as a grad student, I started gaining access to archives and stuff that aren't available to the general public. And I started reading newspaper articles and diaries of people that were alive at that time and finding out what they were thinking and saying to their peers and their families and whatnot. And, some of my favorite things for that, like there was this one diary I read where the guy was trying to convince his family to come from Scotland to America. And he writes that he has more firewood and his home is warmer than King George's house is.
Nice.
Because those big, huge castles and all the lack of wood, lack of trees and everything, Great Britain had been denuded basically. And so, his house was warmer and had more firewood and it was, more comfy than King George. But then he goes on to write that he would take his boat and paddle out into the middle of the lake, whereupon the fish would begin to fight for the honor of jumping into his boat to be his dinner. And I'm thinking, wow, and what he simply meant by that, he wasn't lying. What he simply was saying to his family was, you drop a line, you're going to get a fish, you're going to be fed. It's that easy. And in, the old country, it wasn't that easy to eat. There was a lot of starvation and problems. And so that was the recruiting tools to get people to come to America. And then, of course, you move on to the actual conversations people are having about the debates. For instance, the Second Amendment, Congress shall make no law, seems very plain and evident to us, and that a militia is required in order to have a free people. Well, today we have people who intentionally misread that, misinterpret it, and miseducate over those simple lines. But when you go and you read the debates on the Constitution or the even the Federalist Papers, you'll see conversations of our politicians, or I guess you wouldn't call them all politicians at the time, but the people who were elected to go and represent the colonies at these debates, they would say things like, there is no need to clarify this statement. No one in the future could be so stupid as to not understand what we mean here. And you see those kind of comments throughout the Constitution where we don't need to clarify this. People, come on. How stupid do you think people are going to be in the future?
Right.
Evidently, yes. Well,
more stupid.
You hear these stories that, the founders couldn't have foreseen automatic weapons or tanks or rocket launchers and stuff, and maybe they have an argument. Even though anybody with military history knows that there actually was a automatic rifle, not just muskets, but there was an automatic rifle that fired automatically. The balls. And so they did understand automatic weaponry at that time. But let's give them the argument that they did not understand it. Well, I tell you what they really didn't understand was just how uneducated an American public could be that survives government education.
My God, is that ever true? We got about one more minute before the bottom of the hour break. We're talking to Professor Michael Jones here in the saloon. After the break, what I'd like to do is go back to the basics and ask you this, because as you already mentioned, so many people either have a really poor understanding or no understanding at all of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'd like you, and you have explained this before, and you are the person who I've never heard anyone explain it much more easily and readily and simply than you. The difference between a democracy, and which this is not. The country is not a democracy. Everybody insists that it is,
right,
but it is not.
Hey, before you say those words, Bill, don't say the words yet.
Okay, but
ask
people,
your audience this question: what type of government do we have?
Okay, exactly. So if we don't have a democracy, and we know that to be true, except that the leftist Democrats and the American media maggots think that it's a democracy, but it's an if-then equation. If it's not a democracy, then what is it? And with that, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're talking to Professor Michael Jones, a constitutional scholar. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is in fact the SHR Media Network, and I am the bloviating Zeppelin here in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. And I have a radio show, hence the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I am live and direct in the SHR Media, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and we sit in a studio 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the belly of the beast, the Bill Mill, the Capitol building in Sacramento, Fornicalia, and late at night when I exit that door right there to the left, I go out, and immediately the terrible vapors of evil, brimstone, sulfur, emanating from that damn building downtown. I can smell it, and it permeates everything. It's terrible. It's ridiculous. It's horrible and mean, and that's why I am definitely broadcasting behind enemy lines tonight. We have the honor.
That brimstone comes from my ex-wife, by the way.
Well, then she must have visited the Capitol building at one time or another.
Well, she probably flew in on her broom.
We're talking to the underground professor. That is Professor Michael Jones. If you want to find him on Facebook, I've noticed that you go to Facebook or you go to your favorite search engine, put in Facebook, and then put UGP Radio. UGP Radio. That's for Underground Professor. And then also he has another, if you want to look at some or listen to some of his stuff, he has a website, Underground Professor, spell it all out, lowercase, undergroundprofessor.us. And he also has an account on Twitter. Would it shock you to believe that it's at Underground Prof, at Underground Prof, all spell it all out, Underground Prof, PROF, and that's where you can find him on Twitter. And so...
And Periscope.
Oh, and Periscope, right. Thank you.
Same one, yeah.
Before the break, we asked the question, or I asked Michael Jones, I said, hey, people think we're a democracy, but we really aren't. But a lot of leftists and the American media maggots and the Democrats seem to think that we are a democracy. And so while we were on the break, I said, hey, well, so what are we? And a lot of people in chat wrote, Whiskey Dale wrote a representative republic. Mary Brockman wrote a constitutional republic. Whiskey Dale also said the Republic of Texas. So, hey,
sure.
Professor Jones, if we're not a democracy, then what are we? What is the United States?
Yeah. I hate to say everybody was wrong. And I could probably go out on a limb to say everybody listening to this show that had a guess of what kind of government we have was wrong, because almost no one knows what kind of government we actually have.
I know.
It's simply not taught in the schools.
I know.
It's not taught on the schools on purpose. What's that, sorry?
I say, I know. It's 3 words, but
yes.
I'm not going to say I'm going to let you do that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Because
this is done on purpose, because if you know what kind of government you have and you understand what it actually means, then you begin to understand what other things mean in the Constitution and what it means to have rights and to be free.
Yes.
And they don't want that, which is why they very purposely use the word democracy, because you understand what a democracy is, and then it's easier to accept what they're doing to you because, hey, we're a democracy. This is okay in a democracy, but it's not okay in the type of government we have. Now, people who say we're a republic are, you get partial credit from the professor.
Okay, all right.
Yes. And some people may even go all the way out and say we're a constitutional republic.
Okay.
And I'll give you partial credit.
Yeah.
Now instead of getting a D, you'll get a C.
Okay, Mary said that.
Professor.
Mary said that. So.
Yeah, Mary should know better, but she hasn't listened to me in a while, so I guess she forgot. This, we are in what is called a constitutionally federated republic, a CFR, constitutionally federated republic. 3 words. Every word is required, and no extra words are needed. If you take one away, you don't describe our government. If you add a word, you don't describe our government. Constitutionally federated republic. Real quick, we are constitutionally because we have a written constitution which, by the way, does not limit the power of the people. It limits the power of leaders who are elected to represent. Okay, we're not talking about overlords or kings and stuff. We're talking about people that from our own ranks that we say, hey, Joe Bob, you go and represent us up there in Congress and make sure that government doesn't screw us over. That's their job, by the way. They don't seem to realize that about 15 minutes after arriving in D.C. But so constitutionally, right? We have a constitution that limits the powers of government and what they can do to us. Federated. Okay, well, federated is tricky, so we'll come back to that. Okay, and then republic is what everybody knows. We are a republic, a Republican form of government, as opposed to a democracy or any other simple type. That we have people that we elect to represent us. All right, that we do not exercise power. Now, we are the sovereigns of our country. Everybody's taught that much, at least in school, that American citizens are sovereigns. But that's where the education stops. Now, we are the sovereigns, but one of the brilliant things that the founding fathers did, the framers of the Constitution did, was this. They have a system of powers which are separated and shared, correct?
Yes.
So there are certain powers only Congress has, certain powers only the executive branch has, and certain powers the judicial branch has. And then some of those powers overlap, which become shared powers. For instance, the president does not legislate, and neither does the judicial branch. Only the legislature does that, the Congress. And Congress does not enforce rules. That's the job of the executive, and neither of those branches interpret the Constitution. That is a role cleverly assigned to the Supreme Court by Mary V. Madison. But now we're digressing. So you have a form of government that represents you, the sovereign, as opposed to you wielding direct power as a king yourself. It would be hard to have 240 million kings all sitting around deciding what we're going to do. And if we were an actual democracy, then we would have to all sit around and decide if we were going to buy another box of paper clips for the State Department. Because in a democracy, everybody that's a sovereign, everybody has a right to vote, has to vote on everything. And so anytime any minutia came aboard, we'd all have to sit down and vote. And it's hard to get Americans to vote once a year or twice a year, let alone, 10 or 12 times a day.
Right.
So thank God we're not democracy. And the framers, founders of this country, and I separate those because they're not all the same people, they would have said a democracy, they would describe it as mob rule. And they look down upon it. They, as their knowledge of history and Rome and other republics and democracies like Greece, they look down on democracies as a bad thing, not a good thing. Only has that been recent in this country that we have embraced democracies and communism. Okay, so let's go back to the middle one, constitutionally federated republic. We are a federated government, meaning that, and this is the tricky part, that the U.S. government, the central government, which people now like to call the federal government, which would be wrong, but it isn't. Now, the central government, located in Washington, D.C., has equal power to another level of government, and that is the states. So, today, if I'm not mistaken, according to Obama, we have 57 states in America. Is that correct?
Right.
Or did I get that number wrong?
No,
so
you just one wrong. He said I think we had 58 states. And that was a new one.
Right.
That was
he said he'd been to 57 of them, right?
Okay, yeah. So
so
he got most of them right.
All 58 states. Well, he did. So you get all 58 states, and they are co-equal in power to the central government, which leads some of us to believe that if our states wanted to nullify an action of central government, we just had to get together and the majority say, no way, Jose, a little Spanish lingo there, then we can nullify what the central government does. I'm a proponent of that based on the theory of federated government. But if you don't understand that you have a constitutional federated government, republic, you can't ever get to that decision. So anyway, we're federated, meaning that the central government is co-equal in power to the state governments. Now, some of the support for that is found in things like the 10th and 9th Amendment. And the 9th and 10th Amendments must always be read together. They are not intended to be read separately. And that's critical. But here you go. The simple thing is, hey, if we didn't put it in the Constitution, then we reserved it to the people in the states, right? The people, because we are the sovereigns.
Right.
And the states, because we, the people, live in our states. And we empower our state governments to represent and protect us also. And but here's something that's most important and almost never taught. And let me ask it in the form of a question.
Okay.
Who created the central government? Who created the Constitution? Was it the central government, or we the people, or the states?
I would say not the central government.
No, it didn't exist.
Right.
Yep.
And
it wasn't we the people.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay.
Everybody didn't vote on this, right?
Okay, no. That's right. That's right. The states.
Yeah. Yes. So the states gave birth to the central government, and yet we're constantly being told how the central government is all-powerful when it comes to anything the states want to do, and that's just simple balderdash. The state governments gave birth to the central government.
Brilliant.
It is their creature. And if we want to adjust it or fix it, by God, we can. And we can do it through the amendment process or the nullification process. And you have the Article 5 solutions of taking care of government if we don't like what they're doing. We don't have to have Congress decide they're going to amend themselves. We can simply do it via the states. Now, here's something that is very fun fact for me, and that is this, that creating our government was done by the entire we the people. And it was the last time we've done something like that, because all the states at the time, 13, sat there with the Constitution, and they decided, by the rules, the state legislatures were going to vote on the Constitution. But they quickly realized that if they did that, they were likely to suffer tar and feathering or rope burns from lynchings and things like that. So they quickly got out of the way and orchestrated parties, which they call factions, to promote or for or against the Constitution. And then we, the people, actually went and voted on establishing the Constitution. And so via the state, we, the people, did it. So it's a trick question asking you if it was we, the people, or the states that gave birth to the central government. It actually took both to do it. And that's the last time that we did something like that as a country, that everybody voted on something like that.
But that's the brilliance of what you pointed out, essentially, that it was from the states, the unity of the states, that the federal government or the central government was born, and everybody thinks it's the other way around, that the government has priority over the states, when in fact, in terms of history, it was from the states that we acquired a central government.
And it took 160 years for that to change. It wasn't until Abraham Lincoln, the favorite Republican of all, that they started unwinding all that stuff. And they did it with the altruistic reasons of punishing Democrats for treating black people like furniture, which was actually a word used on the floor of the Senate. That if, in fact, if under the 2/3, 3/5 clause, and you hear people say, well, if I'm black, I was only worth 3/5 to the, government. Well, no, that was balderdash. That was to protect them by limiting the power of the Democrats in the South by how many votes they could get via the slaves that weren't allowed to vote. And one of these Yankee senators came up with the idea that if blacks were property as slaves, well, then so was furniture. And therefore, Yankee senators and Republican Yankee representatives could therefore count all their furniture and use that to help establish the level of representation in the Congress. Because everybody got 2 senators, but the amount of representatives you got was based on state population.
Correct. And
the South was using slaves under the 3/5 compromise to get power. But before that compromise came up, they said, you know what, if you can count your slaves, which you've admitted is nothing more than property, then we can count all of our property too. And we live in the North where manufacturing is going crazy, so we have more property than you, and we'll outdo you there that way. And of course that, was crazy, and they poo-pooed it, but the point had been made. So anyway.
And no one teaches that. No one teaches that.
I'm sorry, what?
No one teaches that purposely.
No. And you can still go to school today and hear teachers teach that the founding fathers thought black people were only worth 3/5 of a white guy. And I'm thinking how stupid you have to be not to know what the truth is, because it only takes about 10 minutes of reading to learn this. But it's what they were taught, and so they had no reason to challenge it, and so that's what they teach. And this is one of the reasons you have, people throwing up their arms saying, don't shoot me, because of all these misunderstandings of the role of blacks in history. We would not have had a country if it wasn't for the blacks in the Revolution. A lot of black people stepped up for that idea of freedom, believe me. and they were promised a lot, and they were let down. But sadly, our government is comprised of people and not saints. And if that was, then, as what was that, Federalist 51 or 10 or whatever it was, it says, that if we were angels, we wouldn't need laws, and, et cetera. So anyway, here's a fun fact that I love.
All right.
And this took me a while to reason out. But it finally dawned on me something, that the framers of the Constitution snuck in something. I told you earlier about the separation of powers and the sharing of powers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We all understand about separation of power, and we realize that this is very important because it diffuses power amongst government, and it's less likely to be abused. Now, Very smart people in government have figured out how to do that anyway, but the idea was to spread it out and make it harder.
Yes.
Or at least we make them work for it. Well, this is something that took me a while to realize, and it's this, that the Constitution does the same thing to the sovereigns of this country that it does to the legislative, judicial, and executive branches. It diffuses power amongst we, the sovereigns. For instance, you're going to say, well, what in the world are you talking about, Mike? Here it is. Do we elect the president of the United States when we go vote for president?
No.
No. We have something called the Electoral College, correct?
Yes.
And so what you're doing is you're voting for a slate of electors in your state to go vote for the person that when you vote for Trump, then what you're really doing is voting for a slate of electors that have promised that if they get elected, that for the first round of balloting, they will go vote for Trump. And then the rest of it's up to their conscience after the first round. Most people don't even know that. And every state has a few little tweaks to that rule, so it's not set in stone after that. But I think pretty much everybody's up for the first one, for the first round. But anyway, we don't vote for president. We vote for electors for an electoral college, and that's based on the number of representatives and senators each state has. So then we vote directly for our representative of our state. That's going to be sent to the central government in Washington. And then we have the judiciary branch, which we don't elect at all. In fact, for the Supreme Court and others, the people that we get elected as president by the Electoral College then go on to nominate people to sit on the Supreme Court. And with the advice and consent of the Senate, you see how they're spreading all this power all over the place?
Mm-hmm.
We, the people, the sovereigns of this country, have nothing to do with that. Past our saying, hey, we want Trump as president. Then we're done. We are out of that picture for picking judges. So the entire branch of the government, we have no direct input or say at all. We have an indirect by simply because of one other section of government, 1/3 of the government, we elect indirectly through the Electoral College. And those are the people, that's the person who then goes and fills seats on the judicial branch. So the only branch of government is the legislative branch. That's the only one that we have at the central government where we, the sovereigns of this country, have a direct vote for. Everything else is diffused. And that is a separation of powers of we, the people, the sovereigns. And that's one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen in my Constitution. And nowhere on that Constitution are you going to see that written. It took me a long time to realize what that was. Here's what
I'm going to do. I'm going to transcribe this from tonight, and I'm going to have you back, and I'm going to post this. It may take me a while because I'm not a real fast transcriptor, but people need to read this. People need to understand just the fundamentals. I wrote in chat right now that I have 7 pages of questions for you. I haven't even gotten off. I haven't gotten off page 1 yet. But the reason that I think this is so important, and I want to delegate more hours to you in the future, is each aspect, what people would consider to be each minimal aspect, because I haven't gotten to positive versus negative rights. I haven't gotten to, why a democracy, why people ask for a democracy, why we don't want a democracy, because I've got 3 more minutes before the top of the hour. And I'm going to have you back. I'm going to transcribe this first hour and clean it up. And if I say any F or S words, then I'll clean those up too. But I want people to listen to this, and I'm going to try to see if maybe I can at least make a smaller show out of this that goes directly to the issues and edit that up. But I want people to read and understand the brilliant things that you've been saying, and the need, the critical need for people to understand why it is that our Constitution was created, and that there are two aspects of it, and I think you've said this before, that we have essentially stare decisis, and that all the constitutional scholars these days and the people that are teaching con law could give a crap less about the history. But if there's one thing that I remember that has been emphasized to me through you, is that teaching the history of constitutional law is every bit as fundamentally important as teaching the law itself.
Right. But if you do that, then you can't manipulate stare decisis to coordinate your decision to fit what you want it to do.
Yes. And that's why when you step back and look at these documents, you have to ask yourself, and in future shows, I would like to ask you this too, but how is it that we received such brilliant individuals who created such a unique document that we're attempting to shred, unfortunately? This is just absolutely brilliant. These are brilliant words and brilliant documents. So, I know you're going to be busy. I think you're going to be
Your answer is providence.
Yeah. Divinity. It's like bing from God.
Right.
So I got to have you back. I know that you're going to be busy because it's, Christmas and you're going to be moving. Can I have you back after the first of the year, after New Year's?
Yeah. You pick a day and I'll be here, busy. Just tell me when.
Okay. Great. Because I want to hit this step by step by step by step. It's critical that we understand this, and no one does. And the sad thing is, I'd wager at least 2/3 to 3/4 of the people sitting in D.C. right now have no fundamental understanding of these critical documents as well. Not one.
And what makes it even worse is that some of those have actually read the same things I have and still don't know what I'm talking about. And, they call me crazy, but, if you go and you read it, it's laid out right there in black and white. It's not rocket surgery.
No, or brain science. Exactly.
Right.
Folks, we've been listening to the Underground Professor, Professor Michael Jones, and he's going to be moving to Utah. Have a great Christmas, sir, as best you can.
Thank you.
And
you too.
God bless you and your family, and may the holidays and Christmas and New Year's find you and keep you safe, sir.
I spread that on to you, and a shout out to Ken, Dave, and Mary, my posse.
Yep.
And the brain and everybody else. I miss you guys, and I promise once I get set up in Utah, my daughter has made me swear that I will set up a studio and start doing radio again.
Cool. That would be even better. That'd be great for you, because listen, this is me. I don't know if you think this way, but me doing radio is kind of like therapy.
Yes. Oh my God, I miss it so much.
Yeah.
I have so much rage built up, and I get mad that I had to just quit watching Fox and everything. I literally have tuned out. I couldn't tell you anything about contemporary politics now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Folks, this is the professor, the Underground Professor, Michael Jones. Thanks for being here tonight, sir.
Good night, y'all.
God bless. Take care. And with that, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And once we come back, I think we'll delve into some happy stories. Hey, Simone in chat and one viewer. Welcome. You're listening to the Saloon, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's hour 2. Right here in the saloon. I am the bloviating Zeppelin. People wonder, hey BZ, because that's who I am, BZ. How'd you get the name? Bloviating Zeppelin. Well, it's actually fairly simple. You may or may not believe me, but Hugh Hewitt, of all people, gave me that appellation. A long time ago, I used to be a Hugh Hewitt fan, and in chat, I would go to the Hugh Hewitt chat room, and I'd type. This was back when Hugh Hewitt actually would monitor his chat room instead of monitoring Twitter. He only monitors Twitter now when he's on his show. And again, this was back when his show was in Southern California and not back on the East Coast, so it's on at 3 a.m., and BZ is not getting his butt up at 3 a.m. to go listen to a radio show from the East Coast, because that's when BZ pretty much kind of goes to bed, is 3 a.m. I'm a night owl, if you haven't guessed that. And bloviating because I had a blog and I'd write a blog and I'd make a lot of references to him on it. So the bloviating, of course, that's what I do. And Zeppelin because of the avoirdupois that you see carried before you if you happen to be watching on the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel. Hence, the bloviating Zeppelin. And Whiskey Dale says, I remember when BZ was in the Hugh Hewitt chat room. And WD, I don't know if you're still there. When he left Southern California and went back east, it became impractical for me to listen to him. And then Dwayne Patterson, who is his producer, has an after show at 5 p.m., but then the problem with that is that at 5 p.m., BZ is finishing up his show prep for his show on Tuesday, the Shat Show on Wednesday, and then the BZ show again on Thursday, and show prep is everything. And I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to listen to Hugh Hewitt. It's inconvenient because I'm doing my own stuff at 5 p.m., and this is probably way too inside baseball. But in any event, that's kind of how I got the name Bloviating Zeppelin. And then I was lucky enough to find all these dudes over here, the SHR Media Network. Like I say, you may or may not believe me, but this is an actual studio. I'm not sitting in, like naked from the waist down. I'm sorry for that brainworm, folks. I really appreciate. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. But if you're watching, just don't look below the desk, okay? Oh, Whiskey Dale says, I haven't listened to Hugh Hewitt since he moved to the East Coast. Okay, well, I guess apparently I'm not the other one. I don't know if he's picked up a lot more listeners, whether he still has an active chat room. Hugh Hewitt used to have one of the most active chat rooms I had ever seen for an AM radio guest. However, if I happen to be out and about, what replaced Hugh Hewitt, at least in California, was Larry Elder. And I've met Larry Elder twice now after having gone to Freedom Fest in 2015 and 2016, twice, and I met him there both times. Great guy. He's a libertarian. He broadcasts out of Southern California. And at least in California, he broadcasts live where Hugh Hewitt used to be. Now Hugh Hewitt is on at 6 a.m. East Coast, which is whoopsie-doo. That's great for them, but it doesn't do crap for me. And like I say, I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. to listen to Hugh Hewitt. He's a great guy, but I'm not quite that dedicated, so to speak. Hey, there was Dan Butcher in chat very briefly. Welcome to Dan. Good to see you here. For the second hour, I was going to do something else. I'm going to do what I told you I'm going to do first. Okay.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
I promised it first. I've got a couple of other articles, but I'll do this first. The first article is a great happy story. This is a wonderful happy story. Last week I told you a story about Kid Rock went into a Walmart store and paid off basically all the rain checks for the people that wanted to buy gifts, but they couldn't quite buy gifts. They had to pay payments for them, and he bought them all. I don't know if you guys ever heard, but that ended up being over $250,000 that Kid Rock spent for that. This is from the American Military News. And this guy is such a cool dude anyway, but doing it at this time of year, even better. The article goes like this, from the various branches. Gary Sinise. Aha! Now you know where it's going already. Gary Sinise sends, I hope you're sitting down for this, sends 2,000 kids who lost parents in combat to Disney. 2,000 kids. Since 2001, 2 million American children have had at least one of their parents deployed while serving in the military. No one cares about those kids. No one cares about them at all. We're supposed to care about illegal aliens, which I couldn't care one less crap about. We still have our American veterans and our homeless to take care of. 2 million American children have had at least one of their parents deployed while serving in the military. Many of those parents lose their lives in combat and they never return. And this is where the Forrest Gump star, Gary Sinise, comes in with his Snowball Express program. USA Today said, and this is from USA Today Travel, as part of the Gary Sinise Foundation, Snowball Express was created for Gold Star families to feel remembered and for them to see that they're not alone, according to the website. Sinise said, it's something I feel is incredibly important for our nation, letting the children know we don't forget their sacrifices and that we honor them. And it's a great feeling to see them healing and smiling and having fun all together. In December, the Snowball Express flies more than 1,000 Gold Star children from around the country to Disney World on American Airlines flights. This year's trip, with more than 100 children who lost a parent in combat, departed on Monday from the Nashville International Airport, and the scene was pretty much kind of a tearjerker. There was a person named Jen Tringali was at the airport and said at the moment, when they announced these people over the loudspeaker and they lined up to board the plane, the whole airport literally stopped. Oh, let's see. I might have this. I might have the audio cut. The whole airport stopped and sang. Oh, here, I do have it. And sang the national anthem. Let's see if we can get this through. God bless Gary Sinise for that. That's great. Here's another happy story. Yes, in chat, Whiskey Dale says, Lieutenant Dan. Oh, he also has his band, the Lieutenant Dan Band. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Gary Sinise plays bass. This is a great happy story. The title, the headline, tells you everything you need to know. But it's funny how they've turned the story around, which is why it's a happy story. But now the American media maggots are turning things like this around. You'll come to understand what I mean here in just a second. The headline is this. This is, by the way, from rallyforourrights.com. The headline on this story is 60-year-old man killed in self-defense by 23-year-old woman is memorialized as a gun violence victim. Okay, there's more to the story. Let's get into it. On February 8th, 2018, a young woman shot and killed her attacker during a public road rage incident. 23-year-old Aubrey Bolin was riding her motorcycle along I-5 in Milton, Washington, when an irate driver began to act recklessly. According to witnesses, 60-year-old Bruce Jones was distraught by the way Bowlen was driving her motorcycle. He boxed her into a location she could not drive away from. Jones exited his vehicle and physically attacked the young woman who was sitting on her bike. Now stop right there. To me, what I'm hearing is female on a motorcycle, which means that a motorcycle obviously is inherently more dangerous to drive and ride, and least prepared to fend off some kind of an attack from a vehicle. And if you stop and get out, and you're still sitting on your motorcycle, you potentially have V for victim all over your forehead. So she is already in a very terribly precarious position. He boxed her into a location she could not drive away from. That's another critical point. So you see how this is kind of building up. And I'm building this up for a reason. Female on a motorcycle, boxed in by someone in a much larger vehicle and sitting on her bike. A fight followed, initiated by the much larger man. That's a fifth point that goes to her that I can make an argument for. At one point, Bolin headbutted Jones, who then drove Bolin's head into the Jersey barrier before taking her to the ground. He hit her and shook her, she described, like a dog shaking a toy in its mouth. He violently tried to rip her helmet off and was choking her with the neck strap. She believed he was going to choke her to death. Boland shot Jones once in the chest when he attempted to climb on top of her. Jones died at the scene. If I had a sound effect for applause, I keep telling myself to get that, but I don't have it, and I don't have a producer anyway. I would be playing the applause right now. She has every reason to have done what she did. Now, the good point is, no charges were filed and Boland was exonerated by the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, as this was a clear case of self-defense. As far as I'm concerned, hell yes. Any thinking, rational human being knows that exactly. No DA would, well, okay. Let me back that car wash up. No commonsensical district attorney would file charges on that. It was a clear case of self-defense. She also, this is very important, she was a permitted concealed pistol carrier, so she's following through with the law. She called 911 after ending the attack with her fatal shot and waited there at the scene. She did everything right. She did everything she was supposed to do. Although, according to her, she still suffers from PTSD, which I understand, because people who are not involved in that kind of a thing, they're not exactly sure what they're getting themselves into. But it's not like she went out that day and said, I know, I'll see if I can get myself into a terrible situation so that I can use my concealed carry weapon. That's not how this works. So it seems like a real open and shut case. Two people with common sense, right? It's been discovered, though, that there's a website called gunmemorial.org. And that puts up photos of people whose lives have been lost to gun violence. And so that site, gunmemorial.org, is memorializing her 60-year-old perpetrator, the suspect, as a gun violence victim. Poor Bruce Jones, age 60. In fact, 90 virtual candles have been lit for him at the time of this writing. And this is a guy who basically, this is what he did. He pummeled the crap out of a 23-year-old woman to death. He nearly pummeled her to death on the side of an interstate for the public to see on a highway. And so he's been being held up as a victim by the anti-gun community. And there's a little thing here. It says Bruce Jones, age 60, fatally shot on February 8th, 2018 in Milton, Washington. 90 candles have been lit for Bruce. Light a candle for Bruce. Well, here's what happened. Bruce brought stupidity to a gunfight. So Bruce is no longer with us. So it begs this question, okay, of how many of these other so-called victims are actually perpetrators or suspects on that damn website. The anti-gun movement has also, because it's all about holding words hostage, right? Words have meaning, and corrupting that meaning is how you get things done. The anti-gun movement has adopted the word homicide when they're talking about their statistics. But most people don't know homicide and murder are not the same thing. Homicide basically is all death except suicide, even justified deaths. Okay? And if you're a coroner, you would know that. Even justified deaths like those killed in self-defense. As an example here, as well as law enforcement-related deaths, they use the word homicide, and rightly so. Murder, however, is a very specific malicious act with the intent to cause death or harm or serious harm resulting in death. So the 23-year-old victim, the true victim in this instance, boy, start speaking well, Aubrey Boland, could have been a murder victim herself, but she was not, because instead she made Bruce Jones a homicide case. You see how that works? with the ability to sway public opinion real easily by using a different word, it's no wonder, okay, that those who wish to take away an individual's right, all of our rights, to self-defense with a firearm, are going to use the term homicide in their argument, as it carries a much higher number. Are you starting to see how this can be used for propaganda, for stats, to build your case for you? That number that portrays perpetrators, suspects, as victims, like this guy, 60-year-old Brian Jones, who was stupid that day and didn't expect. He thought that he was going to have a perfect victim on his hands, and he was upset and angry, and he'd be able to vent his spleen at this person, not realizing that there are a number of factors that essentially allowed her to use deadly force legally in that situation. And I enumerated all of those factors. So it doesn't take a hell of a lot of digging into that gun memorial website to find out that their connection to the Gun Violence Archive, the website that's behind that widely spread number of 307 mass shootings in 2018, which is a story that's easily debunked on the internet after you do some research. By the way, the real story, if you use the proper statistics instead of 307 mass shootings in 2018, the real number is 6, by the way, not 307. So the Gun Violence Archive, which is the foundational website from this, also I want to point out to you, makes it a habit of holding up violent criminals in this situation, this is just one situation, as victims by using that term homicide, okay? I have kind of a curious question for these folks. Why is it that the same people who say that they support women's rights want to take away a woman's right to self-defense, to her own defense, with a firearm? Why is that? I think you have a pretty good idea why that is and what that might be about. Here's another happy story. Do I have enough time for this? Let's see, I got 5 more minutes. Yeah, I got time enough for this. This is from OAN, the One America Network, and it has, this is a story about the FBI and 2 terror plots that were foiled recently here in Ohio.
The FBI foils 2 terror plots in Ohio. One America's Chloe Salsameda has more.
The power of social media is being praised today as 2 suspected domestic terrorists are taken off the streets of Ohio before attacking the public. On Monday, local and federal prosecutors announced the arrests of Elizabeth Lacron and Damon Joseph. They had no connection with one another, but had a common goal: to kill. Lacron, a 21-year-old living in Toledo, is a self-proclaimed anarchist who sparked law enforcement's interest when they were tipped off that her social media accounts were flooded with posts praising mass murderers.
Oh, by the way, if you look at this, and you'll see, yeah, boy, if there's something that has anarchist, because she kind of looks like a guy, I'm sorry, it just happens to be the truth. Yeah, anarchist written all over her little face.
She was so inspired by them, she even visited Columbine High School and began writing to Dylan Roof, who's now on death row for killing 9 people at a South Carolina church.
Nothing says anarchy like loving Dylan Roof.
Lacron allegedly then began formulating her own plans.
Throughout the investigation, Lacron expressed violent scenarios she was contemplating. She stated she had been involved in a plan to commit an upscale mass murder, as she called it, and her master plan was to commit an attack at a bar in the city of Toledo.
She was arrested Monday after buying materials to make a pipe bomb. Meantime, 21-year-old Damon Joseph allegedly...
Okay, so what do you have to commit a crime? You have to have means and intent. So how do you prove intent in something like this? Going out and actively purchasing materials for the end result of your crime? Oh, yeah, that speaks obviously to intent.
Planned to attack a Toledo synagogue. Authorities say
I'm sorry, it should have been means, motive, and attempt. Silly me.
He's an ISIS supporter who was inspired by the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting.
Let me go back a little bit because I was looking at Whiskey Dale. He just came in to chat. Welcome, Whiskey Dale. Good to see you there.
He's an ISIS supporter who was inspired by the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting.
Hang on.
21-year-old Damon Joseph allegedly planned to attack a Toledo synagogue. Authorities say he's an ISIS supporter who was inspired by the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting.
By the way, he's wearing, in his little orange jammies, he's wearing his little muzzy hat on top of his head, and his beard, his obligatory beard.
Joseph identified 2 synagogues as his targets and discussed the weapons he believed would inflict mass casualties. Joseph stated he wanted to kill a rabbi and expressed a desire to begin the attack in the sanctuary. And Joseph stated he was not going in with a martyrdom mindset, but rather a killing mindset.
Joseph was arrested Friday after he bought 2 automatic rifles.
Because, hey, why would he want to be a martyr? Hey, that's a stupid thing from Islam in the Middle East. I just want to kill people.
From undercover agents. With both he and Lacron now in custody, prosecutors are praising authorities for their quick responses to get both off the streets before they could terrorize their communities.
We are blessed with liberty in this country, and that liberty extends to protect free speech, including speech that almost every American would find vile and reprehensible. But when those words turn into action, when they involve plans to harm someone or someplace, law enforcement will be there to arrest them and to prosecute them. We do not have to, and we will not wait for someone to shoot up innocent worshipers at a synagogue or to detonate a bomb.
Thank you.
Chloe Salsameda, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this?
Nope, I don't. I'm done with you. Anyway, that's a happy story. Do I have another one? Beef, can I get another happy story in before the bottom of the hour break? This also has an audio cut on it, and it's about Daryl Issa. And this came from the Sean Hannity show. I want to play this and put it all together for you. So, no, I'm going to go on a break here, and I might have my guest come back in to the studio because we're going to talk about Daryl Issa, the chat that he had on the Hannity show, and how he's attempting to put the big picture all together in terms of the Russia link to that terrible dossier. And everybody's, only Trump is guilty of this nebulous crime called collusion, except that apparently Daryl Issa is saying that Hillary Clinton is guilty of collusion. Can that be? No.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Well, it's the final 25, boys and girls. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin right here on the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios. And in the studios today... Okay, don't think that I'm not going to take that, where you did that at the beginning thing. I'm going to take that, and that will be the photograph that I'll put on top of... I will put that on top of the post that I make for this show.
Yes.
Okay, guys, it's just... that's such a... Nailing it. Okay, I've got so many places that I've exhausted... Let's see, have I actually exhausted all my happy stories? I think I got... I've got California stories, and I kind of have them for a happy story scenario, but I'm going to back that car wash up a little bit more. I sort of Bigfooted myself, and I said, okay, we're going to have to go here. I started talking about a story about Daryl Issa when he was on the Hannity show.
Yes.
And this is from the Western Journal. It says, Issa puts it all together on Hannity. Russia linked to dossier will show Hillary is guilty of collusion. And let's see if I can get this to play. No, that's the wrong one. I don't want that to play. I want the actual cut itself. Okay, let me go find the cut. Here it is. All right, this is the cut. Daryl Issa happens to be on Hannity.
All right, thanks for taking us inside. Catherine Herridge in Washington tonight. Thank you. Joining us now with reaction, former Clinton pollster advisor Mark Penn, California Congressman Daryl Issa, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Good to see you all. Congressman Issa, you were in there. Hopefully we'll get the transcript tomorrow. I just went over the problems with these FISA applications. Is it true the bulk of information came from the dossier that Christopher Steele doesn't even stand by?
That's exactly right, that it not only came from the dossier, but as you know, Christopher Steele hasn't been in Russia in 20 years. So even the people, the unknown people responsible for it,
a problem with
easily have, in fact, been agents of the Russian government, which would mean that Hillary Clinton is the one guilty of the so-called collusion.
Well, that's a great irony there. You have been very critical, Mark Penn, of this process from the get-go here.
Okay, there's 47 more minutes of this, but I have some other stories that I'd much rather get to.
Understood.
There's a story about the Flynn entrapment, and there's a story about James Comey, and essentially what happened to set this up is James Comey, I love saying this, the former FBI director, James Comey, who, by the way, his good friend Rod Rosenstein recommended to President Trump that he be fired.
Yeah.
Noting all these various bullet points of why it was that Comey deserved to be fired.
Shitload of reasons why he was not an effective leader of the FBI.
Yeah, which is very true. But all along, James Comey, I suspect something may be happening finally to James Comey. If after January we can kind of keep the focus on this stuff, because we did lose the House.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to read this article because it has a transcript that is incredibly revelatory. And it's from the Wall Street Journal by a guy named James Freeman. It says, "The unbelievable James Comey." Now, he means not unbelievable in terms of, oh, he's so wonderful and great. It's unbelievable as I can't believe a damn thing the dude says.
Yeah, he's untrustworthy.
Yeah, all 6'8" of him. And it goes like this, because James Comey said that he didn't want to talk behind closed doors because he wanted to be all transparent.
Of course.
So he wanted to speak in front of a non-closed door session so that he could get away with saying, basically, that if I tell you some stuff, oh, I'm sorry, we're in an open forum and I can't tell you that because it's classified information.
Right, but he still, essentially what you're saying is he still wants to come out of the closet. He just doesn't want to admit to anything.
Right,
okay.
Right. It's funny you should mention that. Very funny you should mention that. It's almost like you've read this story on now. Well, I know you haven't, but here's the story from James Freeman from the Wall Street Journal. Can the story, former FBI I love saying former. Former FBI Director James Comey told Congress last Friday possibly be true in a joint executive session of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committee? Comey presented himself as unaware and incurious regarding one of the most consequential investigations the FBI has ever conducted. After describing how little he knew about the federal government's use of its surveillance powers against associates of the presidential campaign of the party out of power in 2016, Mr. Comey then assured lawmakers that the launching of the investigation was proper and free of political bias.
Of course.
No bias with regard to Comey.
Even though he was clueless about the process, he's 100% positive there was no bias.
Right. Well, the problem with that is that on Saturday, this past Saturday, a transcript of the Comey testimony was released by the congressional committees. And President Donald Trump tweeted without subtlety on Sunday. Without subtlety. Yeah, that's kind of a clue.
Not just on Sunday, pal. It's without subtlety 7 days a week, but I digress.
And so Trump wrote, on 245 occasions, former FBI Director James Comey told House investigators he didn't know, didn't recall, or couldn't remember things when asked. Opened investigations on 4 Americans, not 2, didn't know who signed off, and didn't know Christopher Steele. All lies.
Well, and, see, this is where the president has a tendency to not understand. It's not lies. He misremembered.
Ah, damn it. That's it. Good point.
Big difference. He wasn't trying to deceive. He just could not recall.
I know.
There is a big difference, BZ.
Massive. Now, this guy Freeman writes, this is perhaps an overstatement, but some skepticism is clearly in order on the part of the president and every other American who wants free and fair elections. Lawmakers were interested in finding out who exactly initiated the investigation and when. And I'm going to read from the transcript coming up here.
President Obama on behalf of Hillary Clinton, but go on.
Here's a portion of the transcript, and this is a back and forth, a little tete-a-tete between in which Obama administration, the FBI boss under the Obama administration, our Jimmy the Leak, as I call him, was questioned by one of my great pals, Representative Trey Gowdy, who's a Republican from South Carolina. So Gowdy says, his question is, do you recall who drafted the FBI's initiation document for the late July 2016 Russia investigation? Comey says, I do not. Gowdy, would you disagree that it was Peter Strzok? Comey, I don't know one way or the other. Gowdy, do you know who approved the draft of an initial plan for the Russia investigation in late July 2016? Comey, I don't. Okay, this wasn't just any other investigation. On the other hand, okay, I get it. The FBI is a big place, and perhaps the director would not recall which of the staff had worked on a particular document. But under further questioning from Mr. Gowdy, Mr. Comey added that he didn't remember ever seeing the document. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that?
No.
Sackhead Sean?
No. Not even for a fucking second. Not even for a hot New York fucking minute. No fucking way do I believe that.
Again, one might hope that consequential cases going to the heart of our democratic process would be closely supervised by the most senior officials. It makes a lot of sense. But any case generates some volume of documents, and an FBI director may be able to learn enough from staff briefings to make sensible decisions. Okay, the next part of the transcript is a little bit harder to swallow. Gowdy.
It gets worse?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is why I love this story, and I had to bring it here tonight. Gowdy, how does the FBI launch counterintelligence investigations? What documents are required? Comey. I don't know for sure, because it's opened far below the director's level. But there's documentation in criminal investigations and in counterintelligence investigations to explain the predication for the opening of a file. That is the basis for the opening of a file. Gowdy, who at the FBI has the authority to launch a counterintelligence investigation into a major political campaign, and would that eventually have to be approved by you?
No, some guy named Bill. He works down in janitorial.
You're going to love that. Comey says, I don't know for a variety of reasons. I've never encountered a circumstance where an investigation into a political campaign was launched, so I don't know how that would be done. Sean?
Wouldn't it be better?
Do you believe him?
No. And here's what I'm telling you right now. You know what Comey should come out and do for his own well-being at this point?
Shut the fuck up.
It was a lot of pressure. I drank a lot, heavily, during my time as director of the FBI, and I blacked out a lot.
Yeah.
I'm seeking help for it now.
Yeah, there were a lot of blackouts. I started seeing like Harvey the Rabbit.
Yep.
I saw a lot of him.
Yep.
Okay, so saying that he's never dealt with the investigation of a political party may seem like a falsehood, but Mr. Comey argues that his bureau was not investigating the 2016 Trump campaign as a whole, but only particular people associated with it. Okay, so
like President Trump.
So this must be reassuring for Americans to know that the next time they are surveilled while engaging in political activity, perhaps not all of their friends and colleagues will be subjected to such treatment. However, Mr. Comey chooses to characterize the cases he was supposed to be overseeing. He's now saying that neither at the time nor in the more than 2 years since did he ever know or bother to find out how investigations of political campaigns begin or who authorizes them.
I want to know how many people in the Clinton campaign were being monitored by the FBI.
Must be a cast of...
Right, because other than the Steele document...
Zero.
You got to figure with Uranium One and all the things that were going on with Hillary... Wouldn't they be watching her?
Oh, sure they would. They'd be on her like poop on stink.
Right?
Wait, no.
You gotta
stink
figure,
on poop.
You got to figure with the Uranium One and the amount of money that was funneled from the Russians into the Clinton Foundation, that would be enough to raise suspicion and say, hey, maybe we should keep an eye on that.
Yeah. And let me ask you a generic question before I go back.
I'll give you a generic fucking answer.
Okay,
go ahead.
That's why you're here, damn it. Do you think that James Comey was sufficiently ignorant to not want to be apprised of what was going on in serious investigations on the 7th floor of the FBI building. He was sort of a laissez-faire manager and really wasn't much interested in that kind of stuff. So do you think that he, maybe it came across his desk, maybe it didn't?
I will pose the same view as I did about Obama and Benghazi. If he wasn't specifically aware up to the minute as to what was going on, somebody very close to him was, and there was a level of deniability that was put in there with a gap. However, to say that he was not apprised and not aware and unknown or unknowing of the situation, how it started, where the dossier came from, how FISA court works, what's a FISA court. This guy, he's like 10-second Tom from 50 First Dates. He can't remember more than 10 seconds ago. Seriously, he should get checked out. Because if he can't remember this much shit in this major election during this major time in this country, while he was the leader of the FBI, the director of the FBI, the second highest law enforcement agent in the country, essentially, if he can't remember any of that stuff, he's got Alzheimer's or some other disease that he needs to get checked out.
So you have to ask yourself this very important question, other than the investigation into Trump Tower, General Flynn, etc., because I got another great article about
you mean where they bugged
entrapment.
Trump's office? But they weren't going after Trump.
Right, no. And the funny thing is that each thing that Trump ever said, like they bugged me, well, he's been right. He's been correct.
No. Clinton, the Obama administration, all those people said he's lying.
Oh, you don't think
he was never bugged?
Oh, okay, all right.
Just so you're clear.
Okay, maybe surveilled.
Right.
All right. In any event,
now
we
know that that's not true, but they said it was in fact true that he was not bugged.
We'd have to believe them.
Right.
Of course.
Of course.
So the other question is, do you think that Barack Obama, knowing that something like this was going on, didn't want to know or keep apprised of what was happening in a critical investigation like this? I can't really think of during the time of an investigation or a series of investigations more critical to James Comey and thusly to Barack Obama, his boss,
the nation,
and the DOJ, his immediate boss, the AG, than this investigation. And under that, it was Lois Lerner, and you're making the timeout sign. So, timeout to Sean.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Instead of President Obama, say just the president, and he could be any one of the presidents that we've ever had. If we are to the point that we feel that the elections are being influenced by an outside country, I don't care which president it is or why, he should want to know and that the integrity of our electoral system is being protected. It should be his highest priority.
Theoretically.
Now, let's bring it back and we'll add the name Barack Hussein Obama into it. He definitely wants to know because there's so much shit that has come out that he was afraid would come out should a certain Donald J. Trump be elected, that I'm sure that he was paying extra close attention.
I don't know. You're starting to make a level of sense that even surpasses common.
Well,
so
thank you.
I have to say, we have to back up and ask: do we think Jim Comey is stupid?
No.
Do we think Barack Obama is stupid?
No.
They are both far from it. So
very intelligent, very much ideologues, and very much have an agenda.
And they don't seem to be. Oh, yes, that is. If there was ever anything that was true, that's about them having an agenda.
Thank you.
And their agendas commingled.
I got
shall
the
we
bell.
say.
I haven't got the bell in my last couple of appearances, so I did something great tonight.
Okay,
so
you did. You got the bell.
That's good.
You got the bell. So it continues. Wouldn't even a passionate anti-Trumper, which Mr. Comey is, be at least curious how the machinery operates when his own subordinates take the extraordinary step of investigating the party out of power? Sean, for 200.
Mr.
Go.
Carter, look, Comey's lying his ass off. We all know he's lying his ass off. Can we prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is lying his ass off? I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be enough evidence because, as we just said, Comey is very intelligent. And I'm almost 100% positive he's very intelligent to the point that he will protect his own arse.
But wait.
There's more.
There's more.
We didn't script this, by the way, folks.
No, we didn't at all. At least according to his Friday testimony, Mr. Comey did not become any more interested in details once the FBI surveillance machinery was grinding its way towards a series of wiretaps. By now, many Americans have understandably grown weary of the various Russian collusion claims, but in the summer and fall of 2016, the FBI was supposedly trying to determine if a hostile foreign power had compromised a leading candidate for president. Facts and evidence.
Or a friendly foreign power.
Yes.
Any foreign power.
But then James Freeman writes, this is the stuff of spy novels. But even the real former spy peddling bizarre claims that would assist the Obama administration's pursuit of those wiretaps, that didn't arouse much curiosity or suspicion in the FBI chief, according to Comey's Friday testimony. Now, in this portion, and there's another transcript coming up, in this portion of the transcript, it appears to this day Mr. Comey didn't much care whether the Bureau's source was indirectly paid by the Democratic National Committee to generate dirt on Mr. Trump. This is from the transcript.
Well, and we know the integrity of it because we've seen the Strauss-Key emails. So we know that it was all on the up and up.
All on the up and up.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Gowdy, who is Christopher Steele? Comey.
I don't know.
My understanding is that Christopher Steele is a former intelligence officer of an allied nation who prepared a series of reports in the summer of 2016 that have become known as the Steele dossier. Gowdy, how long did he have a relationship with the FBI? Comey? I don't know.
No.
Gowdy, when did you learn he was working for Fusion GPS?
Don't know.
Comey? I don't know that I ever knew that. Gowdy, when did you learn that Fusion GPS was hired by Perkins Coie?
Don't know.
Comey, I never learned that. Certainly not while I was director. Gowdy, well, when did you learn that DNC had hired Perkins Coie?
I didn't.
Comey, I never learned that. Again, while I was director. I think I've read it in the media, but yeah, even today, I don't know. Even today, I don't know whether that's true.
So he literally just said that the media can't be trusted and they're fake news.
He doesn't know.
That's from Comey.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Oh, so James Freeman writes, wouldn't a reasonable person make it his business to find out who paid whom, if for no other reason than to make sure that as FBI director, he hadn't been taken in by a partisan attack disguised as a national security case, because he has to be aware as the top law enforcement officer in the FBI.
I don't know.
Mr. Comey rejected the possibility that law enforcers in the Obama administration targeted Team Trump in response to questioning this is new questioning now, by a guy named Representative Ted Deutsch in Florida. Deutsch, Director Comey, do you believe the FBI or DOJ ever investigated the Trump campaign for political purposes?
God, no.
Comey, I hope you're sitting down. I not only don't believe it, I know it not to be true.
Oh, thank God.
Now, the one thing I left out of this, by the way, folks, is that Gowdy is a Republican. Okay. Ted Deutsch out of Florida is
a Democrat.
A Democrat. Comey, I not only don't believe it, I know it not to be true. Deutsch, I'm sorry. Would you repeat that? Mr. Comey, I know it not to be true. I know that we never investigated the Trump campaign for political purposes.
By the way, on the same token, I was reading recently some document and transcripts from Al Capone, who denied ever not paying taxes. He had no recollection that his organization failed to pay taxes. But go on.
Nope, I know that. But by the way, folks, I can tell you right now that we're going to run long, because I'm going to go into one more article that is very important that I want Sean to hear and I want everybody to comment on. The final product of this James Freeman article is this very fundamental question. How would Comey know if the rest of his testimony is accurate. How can he be so decisive on this, and yet apparently he knows nothing on any of that other stuff?
Nope. He is literally Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes.
I know nothing.
I know nothing. Yes.
Now, something just happened recently. It's 57 minutes after midnight on the far East Coast. And it's almost 10 o'clock, 9:57 here on the left coast. Today, a judge in the Flynn case made a very important request for documents in this case. And this is an article that was just issued today. Yesterday. From the entire editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. And it's called The Flynn Entrapment. A court filing shows the ugly tactics employed by James Comey's FBI. Of special counsel Robert Mueller's many targets, the most tragic may be former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. The former three-star general pleaded guilty last year to a single count of lying to the FBI about conversations he had with Russian ambassadors to the U.S. Now we learn from Flynn's court filing to the sentencing judge that senior bureau officials acted in a way to set him up for the fall. Not a rich man after decades in uniform, Mr. Flynn pleaded guilty to avoid bankruptcy and spare his son from becoming a legal target. Leftist Democrats and the American media maggots all point out the active fact that, hey, Flynn, if he wasn't guilty, he shouldn't have pled guilty, so he's guilty, dude.
I will use this example that I used today. It's like there's a lot of law enforcement agencies that a mere allegation of use of force, handcuffs too tight, broke the wrist, blah, 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 they will pay out immediately $10,000.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper than the $300,000 it will be to defend it. And even though technically it makes them liable, and the officer is responsible on paper, it is just the simple and quickest way out and that's exactly what I believe happened here.
Okay, that's two for you in one night, because that's exactly what happened with Flynn. Mr. Flynn's filing doesn't take issue with the description of his offense, but the additional facts the Flynn defense team flags for the court raise doubts about FBI conduct. The Flynn filing describes government documents concerning the January 24, 2017 meeting between two FBI agents when Mr. Flynn supposedly lied. Now, it's not in this article just yet, but the FBI agents who interviewed Flynn at the time came back with the feeling that they had not been lied to by General Flynn. They believe he did not lie. This is the active point, and I haven't seen this pointed out anyplace else. It turns out the meeting was set up by then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, who personally called Flynn that day on other business to discuss an FBI training session. By McCabe's account, on that call, he told Flynn this is a quote, he told Flynn he felt that he needed to have two of our agents sit down with him to talk about his Russian communications. Mr. McCabe then urged Mr. Flynn to meet without a lawyer present. Quote, I explained that I thought the quickest way to get this done was to have a conversation between Mr. Flynn and the agents only. I further stated that if Lieutenant General Flynn wished to include anyone else in the meeting, like the White House counsel, for instance, that I would need to involve the Department of Justice. Mr. Flynn...
Naturally.
Yeah, Mr. Flynn stated this would not be necessary, and Flynn agreed to meet with the agents without any additional participants, wrote Mr. McCabe in a memo viewed by the Flynn defense team. That's a setup.
Uh-huh.
According to the FBI summary of the interview, known as a 302 is like a narrative, basically, in the FBI parlance. Mr. McCabe and FBI officials, quote, decided the agents would not warn Flynn that it was a crime to lie during an FBI interview because they wanted Flynn to be relaxed and they were concerned that giving the warnings might adversely affect the rapport. How much more clear can you be about that?
I don't know. It's kind of cloudy.
It's kind of murky to me.
It's a little cloudy.
Yeah. We also know from then FBI Director James Comey that this was his idea. This is, quote, something I probably wouldn't have done or wouldn't have gotten away with in a more organized organization or administration. Mr. Comey specifically boasted about that on MSNBC this weekend. Let me read that over to you again.
Try that again.
The Comey said, this is something I probably wouldn't have done, something, meaning what he did to Flynn to send the 2 agents in there. This is probably something I wouldn't have done or wouldn't have gotten away with.
If it hasn't been for you pesky kids.
Yeah, in a more organized administration, he admitted on MSNBC this past weekend. This is a quote again. In the George W. Bush administration or the Obama administration, if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel. There would be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough. Let's just send a couple of guys over there.
Why not?
Yeah. So the Wall Street Journal staff, editorial staff, writes, if the goal was to set a legal trap, it worked. The 2 agents showed up at the White House within hours of McCabe's call, and they reported in the 302 that General Flynn had been relaxed and jocular and, quote, clearly saw the FBI agents as allies. One of the agents was
Strzok.
Peter Strzok.
Son of a bitch.
Who is famous for his anti-Trump texts to his FBI paramour, Lisa Page.
Unbiased, though.
No. There's no bias, no political bias in there at all. The FBI agents had seen transcripts of Flynn's conversations with the Russian ambassador that were unmasked by Obama administration officials. The 302 says that rather than flag this and ask Mr. Flynn for an explanation, the FBI agents decided before the meeting that, quote, if Flynn said he did not remember something they knew he said, they would use the exact words Flynn used to try to refresh his recollection.
Anything, something.
If Flynn still would not confirm what he said, they would not confront him or talk him through it. I think you can see what way this is going.
I think you're jumping to conclusions.
I know. Well, that's me being athletic. Jumping, leaping, bounding to
all
conclusions.
the things you're naturally good at.
That's right. Right. Thank you very much for that. Then the staff continues in this editorial. Keep in mind the FBI's counterintelligence probe into Russia in the Trump campaign was still secret. Mr. Flynn had done nothing wrong in conversing with the Russian ambassador. It was part of his job, and he had no reason to believe that he was in legal jeopardy. He initially claimed he misremembered what was discussed, which is more believable.
I love that word.
Than that a highly decorated officer would lie to FBI officers he agreed to see without counsel. Mr. Flynn's lawyers are requesting probation and community service, though the facts suggest the judge should question the entire plea deal. McCabe and Strzok have both been fired for misconduct, and their behavior reeks of entrapment. If he does nothing else, President Trump has an obligation to former aides like Michael Flynn and to the public to declassify and disclose the FBI documents related to the FBI's Russian probe. Stop. This is the final thought for the night.
Okay. This is going to be good, folks.
Because we are going to have to go. The judge, Nathan, and I can't remember his name. He was the judge during the Flynn trial.
Bag of Donuts.
That's it. Bag of Donuts.
Nathan B.
Now, after having been apprised of a lot of this information, has demanded from the FBI to see all the relevant documents that he has not yet seen, because now he's starting to believe that this was, in fact, a setup. And if you remember, this was the same judge who said that he had questions about the entire incident because the FBI was known to set up people on prior occasions. So it seems to me like this judge is kind of clued in.
What?
A federal judge who's actually asking for documents from the FBI.
Why would they want documents?
And whereas Comey and McCabe and current director Christopher Wray,
they're not just
Rod
gonna take their
Rosenstein,
word for it? I mean,
etc., have refused to provide documents.
Well, they have the right to do that.
I think that if you refuse to provide FBI documents to this judge, he will not be pleased.
And rightfully so.
And exactly rightfully so. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks to Sean, co-owner of the SHR Media Network.
Thank you, young
for
man.
being here, sir. Oh, by the way, this is interesting. Mamba in chat says, Comey is a megalomaniac. Comey's future life is selling BS books, the Rubber Chicken Speaking Circuit, or getting a show on MSNBC. Seriously, watch for it.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that's coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You can't write this stuff.
No, you can't.
It's so far beyond most human kin. You can't write this.
Here's the problem, and I've said this. It was status quo for 8 years to be able to do Mickey Mouse bullshit like this.
Yep.
And now that it's not status quo, they're all shitting chickens.
Well, also, think of this. God, I didn't even get to this book today with Michael Jones. Think of this. What we would not have known, any of this, had Hillary Clinton been elected as president, because she would have buried the crap out of this.
Buried is not the word. Buried is what she does to people that politically oppose her or aggravate her. This would be annihilated off the planet.
Yeah. So
did I say that out loud?
No, yes, you did.
Yeah, I'm going to die.
Yeah. No,
I'm on the list.
No. Hey, who's that knocking on the door right there?
Yeah.
There's a car driving up to the driveway. I can see it on the camera outside.
Did a helicopter land?
That was quick. That was really quick.
So fucking weird.
Wow, how does that happen? Okay, folks, I want you to have a good weekend, and I will be back next Tuesday. Sackheads against tyranny. You know what? I'm going to have to consult my calendar on this, because I can't remember from one week to the next when Clint's rhinoplasty is finished, because I'm sure the guy is knocking on it right now, and there are shards of nose being cast aside. Oh, today's the 3rd. You know what? I think there is going to be a Sackheads against tyranny
next week
on Wednesday. So that's another thing you have to look forward to, folks. Thanks to the great Professor Michael Jones and to Sackhead Sean tonight.
My pleasure, young fella.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. I'm sorry, the sumptuous and palatial
Very nice.
SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, BZEP, on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is, of course, as per normal, the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and, of course, the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And, of course, by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust, you can trust my tiaras, customarily, except I'm wearing a Santa hat. My tiaras are by My Little Pony. Also, I want to thank my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting within the hour, guaranteed. Hey, the Zepp Works is coming as of January. I told people that are changing, things are changing here in the saloon. It's true. So thanks for listening to me. Thanks for listening to Professor Michael Jones and, of course, co-owner Sackhead Sean. Everybody have a great weekend. God bless. Take care.
And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Be safe. Take care.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.